Have you ever been called local by a man who still holds his tailor money? Well, that was me 10 years ago. My fiancé, Kalu dumped me in front of the whole village because I smelled like poverty. But fast forward to this morning, I just sat across him in a boardroom worth billions of naira and I handed him a 200 naira tip. Yes, you heard me right. 200 naira tip. Why? Because I didn't just survive, I bought his entire life. Before we get into how I bought a whole building, we have to go back to where I was literally carrying the weight of the whole world on my head. If I'm talking about Omuo village, if you've never been there, just imagine a place where the dust has a personal wahala against your white clothes. Every morning at 5 a.m., while the city people were probably hitting snooze on their iPhone, I was already at the stream. I was the poster girl for strong and relentless. I had a clay pot that was so heavy. I'm convinced it's the reason I am 3 inches shorter than I should be. Don't laugh, oh. My dress was a vintage collection of patches on top of patches. I smelled like wood smoke, sweat, and a future that looked as blurry as a 144p YouTube video. But I was happy because I thought I had love. I had Kalu. Kalu was my fiancé. At least that's what our parents agreed on over palm wine when we were 10. He went off to the city to study business administration, but I think he actually studied how to be arrogant 101. When he came back for the holidays, the whole village was buzzing. Kalu is back, oh, Kalu has arrived. You would think the president was visiting. He showed up in a car that smoked more than my mother's kitchen, wearing a suit in 95-degree weather. He had this fake accent that sounded like he was swallowing hot yam while trying to speak like a British lord. Abeg, where Kalu go? No be Lagos. I ran to him with my dusty feet and my firewood, shouting his name with joy. I thought he would hug me. Instead, he looked at me like I was a stain on his expensive looking trousers. He didn't even say hello, Amara. He just checked his watch, a watch that didn't even have a battery. The climax happened at the village square. Half the village was there, including the goats that always seems to know when drama is about to start. Kalu was surrounded by his city friends, guys who look like they spent all their money on hair cream and none on their bank accounts. I came by to bring him some fresh fruits as per Kalu's fiancé now. One of his friends pointed at me and laughed. Kalu, is it this one you want to marry, the village champion? Kalu didn't defend me. Oh. My guy man stood there and looked me in the eye. He stood up, adjusted his useless tie, and spoke loud enough for even the ancestors to hear. Amara, let's be realistic. Oh. Look at you, you are local. You're the definition of a village girl. Your skin is ash, your hair is a mess, and you smell like the morning fire. I'm a high flyover now. I'm moving in circles where people discuss millions, not firewood. My aesthetic is now international, and you will ruin the photos. Oh, Amara, let's just end this. We are done. I stood there, oh. Now so I stand there, they look Kalu, my fiancé, because he went to Lagos to study business administration. The whole square went silent. Even the goats stopped chewing. He turned his back on me and started laughing with his friend. I stood there, holding my basket of fruits, feeling the heat of the shame rising to my face. I didn't cry, not one tear. I just looked at his back and made a silent prayer. I told God, if he thinks I'm local, let me become the person who decide where he can even stand. I walked home, packed my own small bag, and left Omuo before the sun went down. When I got to the city, I realized very quickly that international aesthetic my ex-fiancé Kalu was bragging about cost money, lots of it. I didn't have a rich uncle or a soft bed waiting for me. I ended up in a face me I face you apartment in a place where even the mosquitoes had a university degree in frustration. I was staying in room 4 with 5 other girls. We were so many in that room, and if one person turned left, everyone had to turn left. You know that kind of spacing. I spent my days scrubbing floors in big office, the kind of offices where the glass is so clean you think you can walk through it. I would look at the women in their sharp suits and think, one day I won't be the one cleaning this floor. I will be the one walking. working on it. I was saving every kobo, eating gari without sugar just so I could pay for my night classes. My roommates thought I was crazy. They were out chasing sugar daddies, while I was chasing a debt Kalu didn't even know he owed me. 5 years into my hustle, I was waitressing at a very loud lounge. You know the type where the water is more expensive than the whole meal in the village. One Friday night, a group of big boys walked in. They were making so much noise you would think they bought the building. I looked up and my heart nearly stopped. It was Kalu. He looked well fed, wearing a shiny suit and a gold chain that was struggling to stay gold. He was with a girl who looked like she was made of plastic and expensive weave. I pulled my wig down, adjusted my apron, and went to take their order. My hands were shaking, no, but not from fear, from pure unadulterated wickedness building up in my chest. I served him for 3 hours. Carlo was busy telling his friend how he was running the city and how his logistic company was about to take over Africa. He didn't even look at my face. To him, I was just a nameless waitress. When they were leaving, he threw a crumpled 200 naira note on the tray. Take this, my dear, he said, without even making eye contact. Buy something nice for your hair. You look like you had a long day. I took that 200 naira, went to the back, and I didn't cry. I laughed. I went home and pinned that money to my wall. That note was my daily reminder that Kalu's eyes were wide open, yet he was completely blind. While Kalu was busy acting rich, I was actually getting rich. My night classes paid off. I started a small tech firm that specializes in, guess what? Logistics software. I knew exactly how companies like Kalu's work because I had spent years watching them from the bottom. I stayed in the shadows. I didn't post on Instagram. I didn't buy a big car yet. I was a ghost CEO. By the time Kalu's father money started running out and his bad decisions started catching up with him, I was already positioned. I heard through my sources that he was looking for a major investor to save his company from the bank. He wanted a savior. He had no idea he was about to meet his judge. You see, building an empire in the shadow isn't like the movies where you just click a button and money appears. No, it was a game of chess. While Kali was playing Ludo, while he was out at the clubs popping champagne with money he hadn't even earned yet, I was sitting in my tiny room, which I had upgraded from room 4 to a small studio. Thank God for coding until the sun came down. I didn't buy designer bag. I didn't go to parties. My party was watching the numbers on my screen grow. I registered my company under a name he would never suspect, Omuo Logistics Systems. I kept the village name as a reminder, but I kept my own name to myself, off the public records. To the world, I was just a ghost. I remember the first time I landed a contract that Carlos' company had also bid for. He didn't know it was me. He just knew a new player had come into the market and snatched a 50 million naira deal right from under his nose. My sources had told me he threw a tantrum in his office, breaking a glass table because he couldn't understand how a nameless startup was beating him. I sat in my office, sipping cheap tea, and I smiled. That was the first time I realized that my village smell had turned into the scent of his defeat. About 8 years into my journey, my mother called me from the village. Her voice was shaking. She told me that Carlo's mother had come to the village market and made a scene. She told everyone that her son was now a global director and that I, Amara, was probably a night worker in the city because no one had heard from me. She went to my mother's small vegetable store and threw a handful of dirt on her vegetables. She told her, your daughter is a failure and my son is a king. Tell her to stay in the city and keep scrubbing toilets because she is no longer fit to even walk the street of Omuo. My mother was crying, asking me if I was okay. I told her, Mama, don't wash that dirt off the vegetables. Keep them exactly as they are because very soon I'm going to buy the whole market. I'm going to buy the whole market and Kalu's mother will have to ask your permission to even sell a single pepper. That call changed everything. I stopped being careful. I decided it was time to move from the shadows into the lights. I began buying up Kalu's debts from the bank. Every time he took a loan to buy a new car or impress a girl, I was the one secretly buying that debt. I was slowly becoming his landlord, his banker, and his nightmare. and he was too busy flexing to notice. The day finally came. Carlos' company was screaming for help. He was 3 months behind on salaries. His plastic girlfriend had already left him because the credit card were bouncing. He reached out to a private equity firm for a savior investor. He didn't know that that firm was just a front for me. I made him submit a 50-page business plan. I made him record a video pitch explaining why he deserved to be saved. I watched that video 10 times, laughing at how he tried to use big English to cover his bankruptcy. He looked so desperate, so broken, but still so arrogant. I set the meeting for 9 a.m. on a Monday. I told my team, make him wait, give him the broken chair, give him the water that tastes like the tap. I want him to feel like the local person he thinks I am. I didn't just dress up, I armored up. I wore a teal and gold traditional lace outfit that cost more than Kalu's remaining fleet of trucks. My gele was so high and perfectly folded, it looked like it was carved by angels. I put on gold jewelry that was so bright it could make a hater blink. I wanted him to see me and see money before he even saw Amara. I walked into that office building, the same one he used to brag about, but which I had secretly bought the lease for 3 days prior. My staff was lined up, bowing as I walked past. The clicking of my heels on the marble floor sounded like a countdown to Kalu's career funeral. I walked into the boardroom. Kalu was standing there, looking like a man who hadn't slept in a week. He started bowing before I even sat down. Welcome, ma. Thank you for coming. You are the answer to my prayers. I sat at the head of the table. I didn't say anything for a full 2 minutes. I just stared at him. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out that crumpled, dusty 200 naira note he had given me at the lounge. I placed it right on top of his bankruptcy papers. He looked at the money, he looked confused, and he looked at my face. The color drained from his skin so fast I thought he was going to faint. His eyes went wide and he started shaking. Amara, no, it's a mistake. You are in the village. I frowned, my voice as cold as a mountain stream. The only mistake, Kalu, was thinking that a village girl doesn't have a memory. You gave me this 200 naira. Buy something nice for my hair. Well, I didn't buy hair. I bought your debt. I bought your office. And I bought your father's old grinding mill in the village this morning. You said I would ruin your aesthetic. Well, how does it feel to be fired by your own aesthetic nightmare? Kalu didn't just stand there. He collapsed back into that broken chair I specifically set out for him. The wood groaned under his weight, just like his dignity was groaning under the truth. He looked at the 200 naira notes, then at the deed of ownership, and then laughed back at me. His mouth was opening and closing like a fish out of water. No big English was coming out now. Amara, please. He finally stammered. His voice was thin like a thread about to snap. We have history. Think about Omuo. Think about your parents. You can't just throw me out like this. I had employees. I had reputation. I stood up slowly, smoothing out my teal lace. Every movement was deliberate. I wanted him to feel the silence. Reputation died the moment you decided that poverty was a character flaw, Kalu. You didn't care about my history when you were laughing with your city friends while I stood in the dust. You didn't care about my reputation when your mother was throwing dirt on my mother's paper. I signaled to the two security guards standing by the door. They were big men, the kind that don't take no for an answer. Mr. Kalu is finished here, I said, not even looking at him anymore. Hand him a box for his personal items. He has 30 minutes to vacate the premises. If he's still here at 31 minutes, call the police for trespassing. As they led him out, he started to scream. He called me wicked. He called me a witch. He even tried to say I stole the money to buy the company. I just watched him go through the glass wall, the same glass I used to scrub until my fingers bled. Once the office was quiet, I sat back down in the CEO chair. It was comfortable, but it wasn't the end of the journey. I picked up my phone and called my mother. Mama, I said, my voice finally softening. Get your best wrapper ready and tell the market women to clear a path. I'm coming home tomorrow. Hamara, what happened? Did you see him? She asked, her voice full of worry. I saw him, Mama, and I reminded him who the village girl is. But don't worry about the details. Just know that from tomorrow, no one will ever throw dirt on your stall again. In fact, you don't even need that stall anymore. I just bought the entire market square. My mother started to pray and sing. That sound, the sound of her joy, was worth more than all the logistic contracts in Africa. The next morning, I didn't take a bus. I didn't hitch a ride on a motorcycle. I sat in the back of a blacked out bulletproof Land Rover, followed by a second car for my security and assistants. We drove for hours, leaving the city skyscrapers behind and heading back towards the red dust of Omuo. As we got closer to the village, the road started to look familiar. There was a stream where I used to break my back carrying water. There was a tree where Kalu first told me it was too good for me. But this time, the dust didn't settle on my skin. It stayed outside the tinted windows. When the convoy pulled into the village square, it was like the world stopped. People came out of their houses, shading their eyes against the sun. They saw the shiny cars and the security man and started whispering, "Who is this? Is he a governor? Is he a senator?" I told the driver to stop right in front of the market. I stepped out of the car and the silence was so loud you could hear a leaf fall. I was wearing a new outfit, burgundy and silver, and my gilly was even higher than the day before. I walked straight to my mother's store. She was standing there wearing a wrapper I sent her months ago, looking like a queen herself. I hugged her and the market women started to cheer, but then I saw her. Kalu's mother was standing in 3 stalls away. Her face twisted in confusion. She hadn't seen Kalu yet. She didn't know he was currently sitting at a bus park trying to find a way home. She walked towards us, trying to act like she still owned the place. Amara, she barked, looking at my car and my clothes. Why did you steal these things from me? Did you find a rich man to fool? You think because you have a big car, you can come home and show off? My son Kalu is a king in the city. He will hear about this. I turned to her and smiled. It wasn't a mean smile, it was a satisfied one. Actually, Ma, Kalu already knows. He's probably on a bumpy bus right now, coming back to stay with you. You see, I bought his company, I bought his cars, and I just bought this market ground you are standing on. I turned to my assistant and had the notice. My assistant handed Kalu's mother a legal paper. This is a notice of relocation, I said. Since you like throwing dirt so much, I've decided this market needs to be cleaned up. Your store is being moved to the very back, near the pit latrines. I think the aesthetic there suits you better. The scream she let out was heard in the next village, but no one helped her. They were too busy celebrating the return of the girl they once thought was just a village girl. I spent that night in the village, but not in a hut. I stayed in a new house I had built for my mother in secret over the last 2 years. A modern villa right in the heart of Omuo. I sat on the porch looking at the stars. I realized something. Revenge is sweet, but success is sweeter. Kalu tried to use his aesthetic to hide his emptiness, but I used my struggle to build a foundation that could never be shaken. So, to anyone watching this who is currently carrying a clay pot or scrubbing a floor while people laugh at you, keep scrubbing, keep carrying, because the same people who are calling you local today will be the one asking you for a job tomorrow. My name is Amara, and this was the day I stopped being a village girl and started being the owner of the village. Honestly, if you've ever been called local or had someone look down on you while you were still carrying your own clay pot, just know your time is coming. I'm building a community here for the underdogs who turned into bosses. So if you want more of this gist and a reminder that your glow up is non negotiable, hit that subscribe button. Let's grow this channel together.